I just stabbed myself in the throat right here with the thumb. Can that kill you? Probably not.
It's what you're doing, making me feel like I'm falling.
Hello. For today's video, I am very scared. And you should be too. Because today we're collabing with the Graveyard Loon. Spooky. If you don't know who the Graveyard Loon is, he is a lunatic. Just kidding. I'm gonna take that out.
Hey, I'm that Graveyard Loon guy Bellamena was just talking about, probably a few seconds ago, if this all lines up right. So yeah, Bellamena, I'm challenging you to make something evil.
As evil as possible.
We've both done our fair share of Squishy Makeovers, thrift store makeovers, dollar store makeovers, pretty much every type of makeover. So I'm really hoping this cute versus evil scheme will help challenge us both to our
Oh, this is cursed. Get out. This is so nice. It smells like popcorn. This is a classic loon move. It's so cute. Okay. This one could be bad. What is this? Oh, it's a duck. That's cute. Oh, a cupcake with a bow. Love it. Love it. Love it. Oh. Oh no. This one feels cursed. Who wants the rainbow on their head? Come on. Okay, I am going to cut myself off, and I decided to give these 3 squishies a makeover. Up first, we're starting with the owl. I think the owl is actually very cute. It's very squishy, and it has scarily large eyes. Haunting. The first thing I'm doing is sanding this squishy down to make sure that paint will stick to it. And then I'm taking out my scissors to clip off any of the excess seams that might get in the way later when we take out the paint. I'm starting with some soft matte paint, and there was a real glob of paint stuck in there. Love that. I added a bit too much white matte paint to this at first, but we got the job done. And then I took out my white puffy paint, and I added one thin layer of this. I feel like it makes the texture of the whole squishy better. That's done, and now we're all prepped and ready for some paint colors. I'm starting off with a light pink, and there's a reason for this. So I was thinking, what can I paint this owl to make it look a little spooky and scary? Red. What's scarier than red? Blood red. The owl has very large eyes, and it's basically the only thing you can see when you're looking at this owl. You're like, what am I gonna do with these giant eyes? They almost look like goggles. I know someone who wears goggles. Not me, the Graveyard Loon. Another thing about the Graveyard Loon is he has a character called Trevor, which is like a ghost character that has these really big eyes that are pointing in different directions. And that got me thinking a lot. And I said, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna combine the concept of the goggles with Trevor's googly eyes and effectively turn the Graveyard Loon into a squishy. Horrifying. It took me some time to create the black outline for these goggles. It was a struggle to create a straight line, but I did as best as I could. After finishing the base colors for the eyes, I let that dry and moved on to the ears, as well as the beak and the feet. Beak, feet. Why did I think that rhymed? That does not rhyme. Huh. Anyway, for the finishing touches, I took out this black slick paint and added some pupils to the eyes. This is probably the most important part of this creepy, cute squishy, because this is the thing that really makes him look a little bit like Trevor. He's definitely related in some way because he's got the eyes pointing in different directions. I also added some feathers or chest hair to this owl and my signature on the back. And here we have the before and the after for this squishy that is inspired by the Graveyard Loon and his character Trevor. I love this character. I think he's so cute, actually, which I know was not the goal, but he is a little bit weird and maybe a little bit creepy. Kinda. Here's the thing, this squishy is definitely different than my usual style, but I don't know if I made it creepy or scary enough. I want to do well in this challenge, so let's move on to the next squishy and try to do a little bit better. The bunny is adorable. It's very squishy, it's got such a cute little face, and I thought, I have to do better this time. I have to make this creepy. So I thought really hard, and I was like, what is something that would be absolutely terrifying? And then it hit me. The worst pain in the world. A broken heart. Yes, I did paint white paint on top of white paint in an effort to smooth everything out. I swear there's a purpose to it. I'm taking out my pink and purple soft matte paint and mixing them together to create a maroon pink color. Plum? It's a plum. I used the plum color to create a dividing line down the center of this squishy, which I then later painted over and redid. Just ignore that this is happening. It is necessary for the process, but also in a larger, much more real sense, it's not necessary at all. Concept. What is my concept for this squishy? Oh yes, okay, a broken heart. There's nothing scarier than a broken heart. And for those of you who are going to say, this isn't a scary squishy, this is a sad squishy. No, wrong, incorrect. There is nothing more horrifying. This is a suffering soul. He's in anguish and his heart is literally being ripped in half, guys. Okay, so have some sympathy here. So the dividing line is supposed to be a heart cracking in half. Half of this squishy is purple and half of it is gray, and there is a crack going down the center. Since this is a broken-hearted bunny, he's holding a heart that will be broken in a second. Here comes my mistake. I added these two halves of hearts around the eyes, hated that and changed it later. I also added two halves of a broken heart to the bottom of the feet. A broken heart for a broken squishy. And then I moved on to the whites of the eyes. I want this squishy to look like he's in absolute anguish, in such pain, that we are all gonna be scared when we're done looking at it. The squishy has a broken heart and a broken body, as it turns out. He has some stitches and seams that are holding him together. And he has a mouth. We all have one, as it turns out, but his is crying. I added the pupils and a tongue inside of the mouth, and then I took out my blue soft matte paint because I wanted to make it look like this squishy was crying. Well, I guess technically he's actually sobbing. This squishy reminds me of that video with that little kid that says, "You poked my heart."
You poked my heart.
Who poked his heart? Anyway, we're covering up these, like, weird things that I added around the eyes. I just didn't like that. To finish up this squishy, I added some twinkles to the eyes, painted the little bunny tail, and added my signature to the back right butt cheek. And here we have the final result for this broken-hearted squishy. He is just so sad. My heart breaks for him. Overall, I think I do like this squishy. I feel like he does still look cute, but there is a creepy vibe to it. Regardless, this squishy is definitely very different from my usual style, and in that sense, I do feel like I succeeded a bit. Let's move on to the next squishy, which is the Sloth with the scary fake rainbow that's not in correct rainbow order. Oh, hold on, I think you got something on your face. Let me get that. The Sloth himself gives off really weird vibes. I don't know what's going on. Is he, like, contemplating something? To prep this squishy for a creepy makeover, I'm trimming off any of the excess seams as well as sanding him down. I also took out the fake rainbow and really wanted to put it on top of the Sloth's head.
Who wants the rainbow on their head?
I don't know why, but it was just calling to me. It felt like it was a perfect fit, and I was like, yes, these go together. So I rubber banded them together and let it dry for 24 hours. Took that off and let it, like, decompress. And now we're ready for our white soft matte paint. I gave a few layers of this until everything was white. And then I took out my white puffy paint just to fill in the gap between the head and the rainbow, make sure everything was one piece and didn't fall apart. Now that that's prepped, it's time for some colors. And to think of something scary. At this point, I didn't really have a concept, so I spoke to my sister Alina, and we started to brainstorm what are things that are scary. And something that is absolutely horrifying is space. Hear me out. Space is endless. There's no air, we can't breathe, and it just goes on forever. There's just a massive, dark hole of emptiness. We don't know anything about it, and it's horrifying if you really think about it. The other thing is, I felt like this sloth was a contemplative? I don't know. What's a synonym? Pensive. He's a pensive sloth. But why is he so pensive? What's he thinking about? And what's the scariest thing we can think about? Our existence. So to make this the scariest thing in the world, I decided to make this sloth have an existential crisis. I don't know if this is making any sense, but I didn't want to paint the rainbow as a rainbow. I feel like rainbows are too cute, and it doesn't fit the challenge. So I thought if I made the rainbow into a scary galaxy where there's just endless space and this sloth is deeply contemplating the ends of the earth, and that's pretty horrifying. To finish up this pensive sloth who's having an existential crisis about space and existence, I added my signature on the back right butt cheek yet again, and here we have the before and the after for our sloth. I actually really like the after for this. I love the galaxy that I created, and I also actually really like the existential crisis aspect to this spooky, scary thing. I tried my best. Here are all 3 of the squishies that I did for this week's video. I know that this was not in my usual style, and I have to say this was actually a very challenging video for me. I don't normally like creepy or scary or evil things at all, and it was very hard for me to come up with concepts that I felt comfortable with. But I am really happy with the results, and I feel like it was such a fun challenge, and I think I would actually do it again. Don't forget to check out the Graveyard Loons part in this collab, and if you'd like to see me do more Squishy Makeovers, I have them linked in one of these 2 boxes. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next week for another video. Bye!
Hey.